mic working? No, okay. Thank you, Chase. And I would like to invite Chase to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, sorry, call the meeting to order. Thank you. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much, Chase. May I have roll call, please?
Mrs. Greenberg,
Here.
Mrs. Bacon,
Here.
Mrs. Matura,
Here.
Mrs. Case.
Here. Next on the agenda is approval of agenda. Dr. Bells.
Thank you, President Pro Tem, Mrs. Case. Items approved by consent will not come up for discussion during the meeting, but will be approved when the agenda is adopted. This is possible since members of the governing board receive the agenda along with backup materials at least 24 hours prior to the meeting and have time to review and consider all items. Prior to the agenda being adopted, members of the governing board or audience may ask that an item be removed from the consent agenda and brought to the floor for discussion at the appropriate place on the agenda. I would like to offer the agenda as posted.
Does any member of the governing board want to have an item removed from the consent agenda? Does any member of the audience wish to have an item removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, Mrs. Greenberg, may I have a motion to approve the meeting agenda and recommend consent agenda items?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is governing board statements. Mrs. Greenberg? Oh, thank you. Mrs. Mature, do you have anything you want to say?
I do. I attended a webinar conference today put on by Superintendent Steve Watson about teacher stress. And it was really great to hear he had done a survey throughout the entire county and hearing some of the feedback and hearing from other board members and superintendents across Maricopa County. I really wanted to thank Steve Watson for focusing on such an important topic because I know it's something all of our teachers are facing right now. So I appreciated that being brought forward in that topic today. Additionally, I was able to attend the United Parent Council yesterday. And I just wanted to thank Jill Berrigan for discussing the aggregate spending limits. I think you did a really good job of helping some of us understand what the issues are, and I appreciate you being able to inform us like that. And we also had a chance to hear from a lot of our parent groups about some exciting things that they are doing at their own schools throughout the district. And it was just a really great positive program to see some of the great things that are happening in our schools across the district and how our students are benefiting from these volunteer efforts. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Mature. Do you have anything, Mrs. Bacon? Okay. I have a few comments myself. I just want to recognize the variety of challenges our district has been going through recently and over the last 2 years. Teachers, students, parents, everyone has had to deal with different circumstances than they have ever experienced. And I so appreciate everyone's willingness to compromise and to rise above the fray. So thank you very much. Next on the agenda is awards and recognition. Dr. Bells?
Thank you, President Pro Tem Case. It's always a pleasure to highlight students and staff for success or appreciation. At this time, I'll turn it to Mr. Droege, who will MC tonight's honors.
Good evening, President Matura, President Pro Tem, governing board members, Dr. Bales, members of cabinet, and attendees both in person and virtual. Tonight, we have one employee recognition to share with you. Tonight's recognition is the recipient of the Paradise Valley Education Association's Recognition of Professional Standards Award for Teachers. The honoree this evening will be introduced by Ms. Susie Seep, PVEA President.
Thank you. President Matura, President Pro Tem Case, Dr. Bales, Governing Board, and Cabinet. Please join me in celebrating Helen Begay. She's a math and avid teacher at Vista Verde Middle School. She was nominated by her colleague Marina Perez, who says she's very dedicated to the teachers and staff. She's always thinking about how to help the school progress. She spends so much time after school and on weekends just working to improve our programs and what we can offer our students so that they can be more successful and feel positive about their participation in AVID. I happen to know personally the extra time that Helen gives. I've spent years sitting with her on district committees where she works hard to make sure that things are fair and the district takes care of everyone as well as they can. The less glamorous it is, the better it is for Helen. She just wants to go unnoticed and make the biggest difference she can in people's lives. Other people say that Helen is the most giving teacher they've ever met. She cares so deeply about her students and her colleagues. She gives up her free time to help on campus. She even helps out after hours. She never expects anything in return. She gives up time after school without compensation to supervise all the students waiting for the late bus. This has been all year. She is a huge part of the AVID team, trains the staff, and she's a valuable resource whenever anyone needs assistance. She's smiling, giggly, she's a happy person, she's a shining light on campus. You would never know if she were going through anything tough because she never shows it. Everyone on campus says they've been truly blessed to have her working. Her administrators say that she's the best at going out into the community and getting free stuff and a bunch of it for Vista Verde students. She has our students' best interests in mind in everything she does. You'll notice she's not here tonight. She doesn't like this kind of attention. She just wants to be invisible and make the biggest difference she can for students. But she's home tonight, taking care of her family and watching this. And I just want to say how proud I am to be Helen's colleague and thank her for being such an incredible teacher and such a contributor to the Vista Verde community. She makes all of us look good. Thank you to Helen and thank you to all of you.
And that concludes awards and recognitions for this evening.
Thank you. The next on our agenda is call to the public. And we are about going to have call to the public now. Although state law does not require that we hold a call to the public, we have chosen to do so because we believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community about concerns and issues. Having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. Call to the public is not designed to be a discussion. Due to Arizona open meeting law, the governing board cannot respond to, discuss, or take any action on items brought up during this time. However, staff members may be directed to get back to you to address individual concerns. Additionally, I want to remind you that in lieu of speaking tonight, you may choose to submit written comments to the board by completing a public comment form on the district homepage. All comments submitted by noon today have been provided to each governing board member and to the superintendent's office in advance of tonight's meeting. Tonight, we have two people who have submitted comment cards prior to the start of the meeting. Each speaker will have 3 minutes for remarks. Those who have been asked to speak on agenda items will be recognized at the appropriate time during the meeting. As a reminder, the point of this and every board meeting is to accomplish the business at hand and to be able to do so openly and collaboratively. All in attendance are expected to observe our meeting rules as well as rules of politeness and decorum, so that we may serve as an example to our students that issues can be discussed in a respectful and civil manner. Please state your first and last name when you come to the podium. Our first speaker tonight will be, sorry, we have 3. I wrote down 2 before we had 3. Now we have 3. Jennifer Ordzit? Okay, Ordzit. Go ahead.
Okay, I wrote the topic that pornography does not belong in our schools. And I need to make sure that people are educated on the fact that pornography is a gateway to human sex trafficking. Arizona is one of the worst offenders in sex trafficking. And I captured some thoughts here from different sources that I just want to share with everybody. First of all, pornography is dehumanizing. It includes sexual violence, and it's impacting our youth more and more, and it's significantly increased due to COVID-19 because we had a lot of schools go online, and that's where most kids are affected. And for people that need to know, human sex trafficking is the recruitment, harboring, transportation, provision, obtaining, patronizing, or solicitation of a person for the purposes of a sex act in which the sex act is induced by force, fraud, or coercion, or in which the person induced to perform such an act has not attained 18 years of age. The definition of pornography can often change, but if you look in a dictionary, it says pornography is the depiction of erotic behavior as in pictures or writing intended to cause sexual excitement. In the United States, adult pornography is a legal industry, globally generating about $13 billion annually. Meanwhile, sex trafficking in the United States is a decidedly illegal industry, generating about $99 billion industry annually. And so I am going to come to every board meeting and make sure that people are educated on how pornography is directly linked to human sex trafficking and that pornography does not belong in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Wendy Mahler. Can they do that? You have the card, it has to.
She can read your minutes, read your comments. I don't have written comments. Sorry, Nicole. We really try to follow the policy that's been published and presented, so we have to do that.
Hello, good evening. My name is Wendy Mahler. I had split up my comments into two sections only because I didn't know how much time I would have to talk, because I will be speaking on the math curriculum later. But I just wanted to give a big heartfelt thank you to the board, to Dr. Bales, to Dr. Jarris, to Dr. Corson, to Amber Strang, and the entire math adoption committee. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to concerns, to contacting the publisher for that Blitzer pre-calculus book, and for all the time and commitment that went in and over the Christmas break by the committee members to go through the entire program to find any information that could be biased or problematic or and things like that. So I just wanted to give a great big heartfelt welcome and thank you for all the time and commitment in the Math Adoption Committee. And I also wanted to give a big thank you out to one of the teachers at Horizon High School, Miss Zellweger. She has been my son's math teacher half the year, his freshman year, and half the year this year, his junior year. Unfortunately, he hasn't had her for a full straight year, but she has been amazing. She was the key turning point in my son's entire math history of his entire math career. She just has a talent. She knows how to speak to him, how to teach to him. I cannot give her thanks enough for turning a light on for him. And just that spark gave him so much confidence in all other areas of his schooling. So I just want to give her a big shout out publicly. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Henry Hill.
Governing Board, Dr. Bales, my name is Henry Hill. I'm a parent of students at 3 separate schools within PV School District. And I want to read off some numbers to you. Here are the reported cases of COVID at each school just since the beginning of second semester. Desert Shadows Elementary, 39, 9% of the students. Desert Shadows Middle School, 90, 10% of the students. Horizon High School, 296, almost 14% of the student body. This number does not include teachers or staff. We've been waiting for something to come from the district to show how we're going to lead to help keep our students safe, help keep them in school, and keep them getting their education. And the answer we got from the district this week was basically, we give up. We can no longer do the contact tracing. We really want everyone to wear their mask, but we really can't enforce it. And I'm telling you, it's not enough. We are not in an endemic yet. It's still a pandemic. We have been at this for 2 years. I understand we're all exhausted by it, but we cannot let up on what we're doing to help keep the students safe. I do not appreciate the new policy that's come out. I don't accept it, and I'm extremely disappointed with not only this board, but this administration.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, Dr. Bales, Superintendent comments.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Case. PB Schools is proud to have 11 schools receive 2021 PBIS-AZ Amazing Awards. This award recognizes schools for successful implementation and outcomes with school-wide systems of positive behavior interventions during the COVID pandemic. The schools receiving the recognition are Boulder Creek Elementary School, Cactus View Elementary School, Copper Canyon Elementary School, Desert Cove Elementary, Desert Shadows Elementary, Desert Trails Elementary, Fireside Elementary, Greenway Middle School, James P. Lee Early Childhood Learning Center, North Ranch Elementary School, and Shea Middle School. Congratulations to each of them. The Air Force Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps program at Shadow Mountain High School recently earned an overall unit assessment rating of exceeds standards, the highest attainable rating. The cadets and instructors of Shadow Mountain's Air Force Junior ROTC program should be proud of this accomplishment. We certainly are as a district. This is a testament to the hard work and dedication of everyone involved in the program. Congratulations to this program and our cadets. Parent-teacher conferences are just around the corner. Spring K-8 teacher conferences will be held January 24th through the 28th. Parent-teacher conferences bridge the connection between home and school and are a valuable opportunity for parents to support their child's academic development. In need of some conversation starters, visit pvschools.net, where we've published an article on ways to get the most out of this year's parent-teacher conferences. During the weekend of February 4th through 6th, take some time for your family and unplug from electronics. Use this time to relax and recharge. It can be challenging to find time to unplug, but it's definitely worth it. To support this endeavor, PV Schools is having a homework-free weekend. Tests will not be scheduled on Monday, February 7th, and staff members are encouraged to unplug from work-related responsibilities as well. If you registered for the virtual PV Schools 5K Community Fun Run, don't forget to complete your 3.1-mile run or walk between February 1st and February 8th. There is still to sign up at www.raceentry.com and search for Paradise Valley 5K Community Fun Run. On March 1st, all 9th, 10th, and 12th graders will participate in a virtual school day from home. Juniors will be attending school in person to take Arizona's required state assessment, the new ACT. The ACT test will take most of the school day and require a large number of staff to administer. You will receive more information from your schools and principals for more information that will be coming to parents within the next week or two. As you're aware, the community spread of this new COVID variant in Maricopa County is in high transmission. Yesterday, we did announce revisions to our COVID communications, including the elimination of contact tracing at the 712 level. We simply do not have the capacity to deal with the volume of positive cases. If you're out and about, one might assume that you are likely to get exposed to the virus. It is highly contagious and impacts our teacher and student attendance. Our teacher absences are running about 8% today, typically between 4 and 6%. And that's down from 11% last Friday. But we're still only able to fill 55 to 65% of our substitute needs. So if you can assist in that area, we would welcome you. As an example of our student absences, yesterday we had 6.3% that were COVID related, 4.7 that were excused non-COVID related, and 3.8 that were unexcused absences, for a total of 14.8%. Today we're down to 14.2% for those absences, and it will continue to trend downward. Please make a personal commitment to complete a self-assessment every day and refrain from coming to work or school if COVID-like symptoms are present or you're awaiting COVID-19 test results. Without the ability to complete contact tracing, this personal commitment is even more important. We continue to promote healthy hand hygiene, social distancing when possible, cohorting, increased air filter and ventilation measures, and more. We will continue our mask regulation with an opt-out provision until further notice. Yesterday, I hosted my Superintendent Student Leadership Council. This group is made up of our high school student council presidents and their respective principals, who meet regularly with Mr. Long and myself. The students describe some quote-unquote bad habits that develop during remote learning that still linger in some students readjusting to in-person learning. They shared their enthusiasm to bring students together and enjoy some long-awaited events like assemblies and hoop-coming activities. As usual, we were inspired by our student council leaders to move forward despite the challenges around COVID this year. I'd like to extend a special shout out to Alex Kurtz, a PV High School senior who developed a net club, no empty tables, to engage with students sitting alone during lunch. He was a guest yesterday, and he shared his idea with the other schools in hopes of growing the success seen at Paradise Valley High School across the district. Thank you, Alex, for sharing your inspirational story and this net club opportunity. And a special thank you to each of our student leaders, the student council presidents of each school, for their candid, open, and honest reflections, and particularly their leadership on campus. And those are my comments tonight.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is items for approval. Dr. Bells?
President Pro Tem Case, governing board members, cabinet, and guests. This is the first of two resolutions related to bond sales, refunding bonds, or as I like to refer, refinancing. I'd like to especially thank our voters for their continued support of PV schools with the passage of voter-approved bonds to maintain our facilities. Great schools improve property values and reduce crime. In our continued efforts to operate with transparency and fiscal responsibility, Ms. Berrigan will present tonight. Ms. Berrigan.
Thank you, Dr. Bales and President Pro Tem Case and governing board members. I do have some information for you this evening on both the sale of new bond dollars from our 2019 authorization, as well as the refunding of bonds, or as appropriately Dr. Bales phrased it, basically it's a refinancing. And we should have the presentation coming up. There we go. Just to let you know, the school improvement bonds for the 2019 authorization approval tonight, that we are asking for $48,600,000 of that to be sold this evening, or the resolution to be approved this evening. And then the refunding bond is from the 2012 bonds in the amount, and the original amount was for $38,880,000. This is really a summary of the information, and the little screen up top is hiding a little bit of information, but I think I remember what it says. The credit ratings are an important piece of bonds, thank you, of bond sales and bond refunding. And we have excellent credit ratings, both from Moody's and Fitch. They are both separate rating agencies. And so Moody's, we have an AA1, which is the second highest rating you can receive, and with Fitch, we have a AAA. There are only a few districts in the state of Arizona that have an AA1 rating, and no districts in the state of Arizona with a AAA rating from Moody's. So effectively, we can say we'll call it the highest rating for school districts in the state. That does help us. It makes us attractive to those who are interested in the bonds and can effectively bring down the interest rate that we are paying on that. With our 2019 voter authority to be used, we're asking again for the $48,600,000 to be approved in the resolution this evening of the remaining $139,635,000. And just as a reminder, the original approval from our incredible voters was for $236,140,000. The proceeds from the project are $48,550,000. There are expenses that have to be covered through the authority, and that includes things such as our bond counsel, a financial advisor, the preliminary official statement, which is the statement that the investors are interested in and tells them all about the district and why they would want to invest in the district, as well as a paying agent. And while I'm on that point, if I can just introduce this evening that we do have Brian Lundberg here from Stiefel for our financial aspect of things. Did you wave? Okay. As well as Mr. Jim Giel from Gust Rosenfeld, who are our attorneys in the bond sales and refunding. So I appreciate them being here tonight, and they will handle any technical questions that you may have. They really do help us out a lot. I mean, we compensate them for that, but it is a very detailed, oriented process to go through to sell bonds and to refund bonds. We do rely on them heavily. They do communicate with me often during this process, and we do appreciate their support. They are great partners. The principal on this are maturities that occur from 2023 through 2041. And we chunk out pieces of each bond, so not one investor buys all $48,600,000. Different banks and different investors purchase different chunks of that money. And so we sell those those are purchased at different interest costs. But as an average, just because we don't know until the sale happens, we believe that we'll see somewhere around a 2.55% interest cost, and that includes, costs as well. So that is an excellent rate. That is information on the specifics of the bond sale. I just wanted to reiterate some of the projects that we're looking to support with this particular bond sale. And this isn't the full comprehensive list. This is essentially just the facilities types of projects. And it looks a little different this year than it did last year. Last year, we had some really big projects. We had the Pinnacle Pack. We had the rebuild of Palomino. Those took up large portions of the bond sales that occurred last year. So this is a little bit of a list. We are doing more of the smaller projects expanded throughout the district. And so we're supporting lots of different projects throughout the district. They aren't always as exciting as a new PAC or a new school, but these are important projects that our voters have asked us to support, and we want to do that. And then there's just a second table of the listing as well. Lots of good stuff happening, just not one big project. And then while the items are two different items on the agenda, I just want to talk about the refunding bonds as well at the same time. It sort of makes sense as a package. Again, we have our credit ratings there. We are refunding bonds from 2012, and at that time, the principal was $38,880,000. Those maturities were occurring from 2023 through 31. We have an optional call on 7/1/2022, and we're a little bit ahead of that, which is fine. When the bonds sell in the April timeframe, the funds will be held in escrow until July 1st. And at that time, the interest cost was 3.71%. Again, that's an average, so significantly higher at that point when you're talking about that much money. With the refunding of these bonds for maturities to continue from 2023 through 31, we're only looking at a 1.5% interest rate, and that is significantly better. So much so that it will save our local taxpayers in that next part of the table there a little over $4.5 million. Now, both Mr. Lundberg and I like to be very conservative in our estimates, so that is probably a low number. We will probably actually see higher savings than that $4.5 million, but we would rather underpromise and then overdeliver on that. Nonetheless, it's an important thing that we consider doing bond refundings for our communities. The last time we did one was in 2015, and at that time we happened to be doing a bond sale at the same time as the refunding like we're doing this time. And with that, I want to reiterate Dr. Bales' appreciation to our PVUSD voters because I do not think we can thank them enough. It is incredible the amount of support that we have from them and the work that we're able to be able to do with that. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
May I please have a motion to pass, adopt, and approve resolution number 509 authorizing the issuance and sale of PVUSD school improvement bonds?
So moved.
Do we have, are we going to do these together? Separately?
Mhm.
Do we have any questions from any board member on these?
I don't have a question, but I just have a comment. I really do want to thank our voters because these kinds of like not real exciting projects are the things that keep our buildings in good order, and are good for your communities, good for your housing values. And we wouldn't be able to do these without voter approval. There's just simply no way. We don't get enough building renewal funds from the state to do anything near this. So
Not even close.
that's all I want to say.
I was basically going to say the same thing, so I'll try and be short, but I'll be more excited even with the next one. But this really is, there is no way we can adequately thank our voters. I mean, we would not be able to do, I've always, for as long as I've been on this board, have always appreciated the focus we have had on maintenance and you know, ensuring that our buildings are as safe as they can be and are as in good shape as they can be. And I'm well aware that other districts have not had that focus. And this is one of the reasons we're able to do that. So I really do want to thank our voters for their support.
And may I add, thank you, Mrs. Greenberg. May I add that it also can become a point of pride for our students that they have nice looking buildings to go to class in, and that the walls look nice and they don't need to be painted, and that the air conditioning works, and that it's safe and clean, and all of these, all of this bond money helps to keep our campuses in good repair. No matter the neighborhood, no matter the social economic, our campuses are kept in good repair, and we so appreciate the community supporting us on these bonds. And Mrs. Mature, do you have a comment?
You all took the words out of my mouth, so I'm going to just say ditto, and also a reminder that this is not new money that we are requesting. This is money that was approved by voters in our last bond election. So we're not adding anything new for our taxpayers at this point.
Thank you. All those in, anybody else have anything to say? Nope. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Consideration and, oh, this is yours, Dr. Bales, I guess. Oh. Consideration, if deemed advisable, to adopt resolution 510 authorizing the issuance and sale of refunding bonds of the district. But does she need to talk about it again? Oh, okay. May I please have a motion to pass, adopt, and approve resolution 510 authorizing the issuance and sale of PVUSD refunding bonds?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is acceptance of gifts and donations. We appreciate all the donations to our district, and we don't talk about each of them individually, but all of those have a large impact on our students, and we so appreciate those donations. May I have a motion for acceptance of gifts and donations, please?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda are items for discussion, and we'll begin with the considerations of recommended 9-12 math curriculum resource adoption. Dr. Bells.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Case, Governing Board members, Cabinet, and guests. It's our pleasure to bring to you tonight at first reading regarding our 9-12 math curriculum resource adoption. I want to extend my special thanks to the math leadership team and the participants in that. So with that, we'll turn it over to Dr. Corson and his team.
President Pro Tem Case, Governing Board members, Dr. Bales and Cabinet. Tonight, Amber Strang, our secondary math curriculum specialist, and I will be presenting the 9-12 Math Curriculum Adoption Committee's recommendation for math curriculum resources. Our current 9-12 curriculum math resource adoption, which was adopted in 2013, is concluding, which means that updated materials and access to all online student and teacher resources are also ending. Therefore, in order to provide the most current materials along with supplementary online resources to our students and teachers, we've been conducting a resource adoption process over this past year. Tonight's presentation will include our process, an overview of the committee's membership and process, the evaluation criteria, and committee's recommendations along with some next steps. Let's see, I think I hit one too many. Let me back up. On tonight's presentation, on behalf of the committee, Ms. Strang and I am pleased to present a first reading of the committee's recommendations for 9-12 math curriculum resources. Keep it in mind that these resources will also be used in middle schools where high school math courses are offered. Our committee consisted of high school and middle school teachers, administrators, and parents representing a cross-section of our district. We appreciate these members who contributed many hours to this effort.
Good evening, Mrs. Case, Governing Board members. Thank you for the opportunity to share the thorough process of the Math Adoption Committee that went behind this decision-making. It was a true pleasure to work with such a dedicated group. Our process began in January 2021 with a call to committee and submission of comprehensive proposals from vendors. From February to May, our committee met to review our process, establish communication strategies for our stakeholder groups, and set rubric and evaluation criteria for our selections. Using the evaluation criteria and rubrics, the committee selected vendors and recommended which would move forward. In August, vendors sent samples of their curriculum resource materials to each high school site so that they could be viewed by district staff. As a result, we had more participation from staff providing feedback. In September, the materials were made available to the community for a 60-day viewing window. This window was open from September 20th to December 17th. In October, the committee met with 3 of the vendors for the algebra and geometry curriculum resources. Final teacher feedback was collected during December and shared with the committee. In January, the committee met and reviewed the rubrics and additional feedback to make their recommendations to the governing board. One of the statistics textbook being recommended this evening, 2 community feedback forums had expressed concern regarding politically charged questions concerning such topics as global warming, climate change, and immigration reform. In reviewing these problems, the problems present data to students and ask students to apply a statistical principle. Committee members reviewed these problems and did not find them concerning. However, our curriculum department will notify the publisher of these problems and work with teachers on handling any problems or problem sets that may contain controversial subject matter. It was brought to the committee's attention that the Blitzer pre-calculus textbook had problems that were concerning. We reached out to the publisher and were informed that those problems had been removed from the updated version of the text. This is not one of the textbooks that's being recommended by the adoption committee.
Throughout the process, the committee evaluated the curriculum resources using a comprehensive rubric. The criteria in this rubric included the Arizona Math Standards, which provide the committee with an opportunity to select materials best aligned to the vision of these standards. The quality of print and electronic resources for scaffolding of concepts and skills, embedding of critical thinking and creativity tasks, and differentiated materials for such groups as gifted students, students with special needs, and our English language learners. And finally, the robustness of training and consultation plans to support teachers before and during implementation. The criteria we used was instrumental in analyzing the resources.
Our algebra and geometry courses will be shifting from Pearson to McGraw-Hill. McGraw-Hill comes with an online program called ALEX, which helps fill in gaps caused by unfinished learning. Geometry will be using McGraw-Hill to promote vertical alignment from Algebra 1-2. Algebra 3-4 will also be using McGraw-Hill to promote vertical alignment from the previous 2 years of learning. The committee supported this change mainly because of the benefits provided by the online ALEX program. It's a powerful remediation tool which analyzes where students are struggling and creates learning opportunities for them to get caught up. The next 4 courses will all use resources from Savas Pearson. Pre-calculus will use this text, which has already been approved by Rio Salado for dual enrollment. This curriculum includes an online program called Math Excel, which many of our teachers are already familiar with. College Algebra will use this text, which has also been approved by Rio Salado for dual enrollment. It includes Math Excel. Pre-calculus and college algebra are similar courses, so this committee recommended resources that encourage the use of a graphing calculator and have consistent vocabulary. Paradise Valley High School offers trigonometry at their site, and the committee is recommending this textbook, which also includes Math Excel. As a side note, trigonometry is offered at Paradise Valley because they're on a block schedule. This means they're able to offer more math courses since their classes are taught in 1 semester instead of a full year. Trig provides an alternate track for those students. The trig concepts are still offered within topics of college algebra and pre-calculus at the other high school sites. Many of our high schools offer applied math for seniors to take as a 4th math credit. This curriculum includes Math Excel. As I said earlier, many of our teachers are already familiar with Math Excel and have seen the many benefits of it in the classroom. This online program is a wonderful complement to these upper-level math courses. BFW comes highly recommended for their AP resources. The committee is recommending this text for calculus, and it has already been approved by Rio Salado for dual enrollment. The committee is recommending this text for the regular statistics classes. This course is for juniors and seniors. The committee is recommending this text for our AP statistics course. It contains many resources to help prepare students for their AP exam. All of the BFW curriculum comes with an online program called Sapling Plus. It includes many tools and resources for teachers and students. Computer science is a growing program in our district, so we wanted to include this course in the adoption. The committee chose to recommend this curriculum from Cengage, which includes an online resource called MindTap. Community feedback showed positive support for this resource. Similar to the other online resources, MindTap offers students and teachers additional activities, problem sets, and supplemental content that both scaffolds and enriches student learning. After the curriculum resources have been approved, I will get the materials into the teachers' hands as soon as possible. I want to order their teachers' editions. I want to get them online access so they can start familiarizing themselves with the curriculum. I've planned training workshops for the half day on April 5th to launch the new curriculum, pending governing board approval of these resources. The workshops would be facilitated by each vendor so teachers can work in small groups and get their questions answered. Additional training workshops would be offered during the 4th quarter. Optional training will be made available during the summer, and training would continue throughout the 2022-2023 school year. I want teachers to feel supported through this process and provide multiple opportunities for them. All 9 through 12 and applicable 7 through 8th math teachers are expected to use the new adopted math curriculum during the 2022-2023 school year. To help support their use of the materials, we'll be realigning our curriculum maps to reflect the new resources and adjust pacing if needed. We will also develop descriptions and models of what effective implementation looks like to guide teachers in their use. Thank you again, Mrs. Case and the Governing Board, for allowing me to present the committee's recommendations. At this time, Dr. Corse and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the governing board members? Oh, we have two public comments. Henry Hill, if you will come. You have 3 minutes, and then we'll be followed by Wendy Mahler.
Governing Board and Dr. Bales, my name is Henry Hill. I was a parent volunteer on the Math Adoption Committee, and I really want to take some time at the beginning here to commend Dr. Corson and also Amber Strang for the successful shepherding of this process. And I also want to thank the other committee members, some of whom are here tonight. This is my first time working on one of these committees, and they made it fun and enlightening, and to see what the effort goes into selecting these curriculum, I think is very important. The other reason I'm up here though is we should have been here about 4 months ago to talk to you. And unfortunately, we got derailed by a ridiculous law that was passed over the summer that you had to react to. While I don't want to get too much into the law itself, the way that our committee and others like ours were asked to react to it with zero input and direction from the board or from the superintendent's office on how to deal with what is controversial or objectionable. We're giving no criteria by which to go after that was unfair to the committees. It put us in a position of having to guess at what was expected, and without any real guidance, go forward and try to find a way to navigate through there. And especially with something as objective as math is, to go through this process and to potentially have deprived the students and the teachers of this resource and the ability to get in this resource months ago, I think was very unfair and short-sighted. And I really want you as a group to take a look at how you are dealing with individual objections and how you're dealing with all the curriculums you're looking at. There have been a lot of stories that I've heard from other people on other committees that they are going through, unfortunately, a lot of extra effort, usually for no good reason other than a single comment's been raised. I really believe that this administration should be utilizing a way to go through those comments ahead of time, because right now it feels like the committee members are the ones being put out there to take the bullet for it and figure stuff out. And I would ask that you direct the superintendent and his administration to do a better job of sifting through those for the comments that are real, rational, and imperative to check on. Because otherwise, if we're worried about objectionable things within a math curriculum, then we're already on the wrong side of that slippery slope.
Thank you. Wendy Mahler.
Thank you. My name is Wendy Mahler. I'll just make this very, very brief. Thank you again to all the committee members and all the hard work that you did going through the program. I wanted to bring up the pre-approved pre-calculus book. This book was already pre-approved for honors pre-calculus. It was left out to the public with only that designation. It wasn't communicated that it was going to also be used for regular pre-calculus study. And therefore, it was not included on the feedback form. And then in the committee meeting, when the committee went to revet this book to find any questionable or biased materials in it, whoever had gone through it had taken up her own categorizing by putting tabs, colored tabs on them from orange to whatever color, red being the most offensive. She had no red, but she did have plenty of orange in this book. So I'm just asking that this book be looked at one more time by more than one committee member to just make sure that there is no bias in this book. Secondly, Regarding the algebra and geometry curriculum, I found it interesting that there was a big push to be a lot of online focus. And it was highly recommended by the committee because this was shiny and new and had current examples. Please consider that this program will require more teacher training and associated costs with that. It would also require more training for the ALEX program and also training for the students, as well as this will be new to them when they are more familiar with the Math Excel. And the books are also soft cover. So you probably find a lot of attrition with these books being soft cover, going in backpacks. You'll have to reorder these books more often as they're soft cover for both teacher and student. And with our curriculum, our current curriculum, the teachers are already familiar with it. The teachers and kids are familiar with the online Math Excel, and the books are hardcover. Just because the books are from 2015 does not mean that they are out of date. Math is math. 1 + 1 always equals 2, no matter what year the book was published. And even though these books are Common Core, there doesn't seem to be any bias in our current curriculum for Algebra 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from board members or comments?
Mrs.
Susan?
Case?
Yes.
Yes. Thank
Mrs.
you.
Ventura?
Yes. I had two different things. Appreciate you brought in that the last time the math curriculum for this age level, the 9 through 12, was done in 2013. So that was helpful information. Thank you. I wanted a reminder of when we last did the K-8 math adoption. And additionally, I do want to confirm that that there are a lot of online opportunities with these texts, and I know those are very helpful. A lot of students appreciate being able to go in and have extra study problems and things like that. But I wanted to make sure there are options also for paper homework for students who, as we know, not all of our students have high-speed internet at home. They may have our Chromebooks now, but it doesn't mean that they have access to the internet. And I want to make sure that we are looking out for all of our students in that capacity. Thank you.
Ms. Matura, our K-8 adoption was recently adopted in 2019-2020, so just a couple of years ago for our K-8 curriculum. And all of the resources that we are recommending this evening, even though they come with online supplemental resources, they all come with a textbook. And I believe that even, and Ms. Strang can clarify, but I believe even the texts that originally were proposed to the committee that were in paperback form, we did request from the publisher that those be in hardback form, and they have agreed to do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I did have some questions. Is it possible to keep Math Excel for the coming year? And it mentioned in some of these notes in the presentation that Max Excel was going to be used. Can it be used? Are there more areas it can be used, or I don't know. I don't understand.
So Math Excel is specific to a particular published textbook, and you'll see, I believe, in the upper division math courses, Math Excel is the accompanying product that goes with those particular resources. However, at the Algebra 1, 2, 3, 4, and geometry levels, the accompanying program that models and aligns with the particular resources is the program called ALEX. Some of our schools have already been using ALEX as well in a couple of situations, and so some of our teachers are familiar with that as well. So both of those programs are available, but they do align specific with a particular textbook.
So if you were doing section 12, it would have section 12 online to correlate. For instance, if you were, the numbers would all line up. It'd be easier to go from one to the other.
That's correct.
Is it called Alex? Is that how you say it?
ALEX, and I'm looking for the spelling.
I think it's Yeah, yeah, Alex. So is it similar to Math Excel in the way it approaches, the way that you can keep getting problems until you get it right, and there's a way for the response from the computer program to let you know?
Ms. Strang, can you comment on that? Yeah.
Alex is just like Math Excel, but I would say it's even better. And the reason it's even better is it's going to have those same tools as Math Excel, but it also has a remediation feature. It's called this pie chart that will identify where the kids are struggling and where they need to show growth. And then it creates an individual plan for those kiddos. So what's really great now with our kids who have had all these different situations with the past year and a half, it would help our teachers as soon as those kids enter on that first day of school. They could do some of these projects and these opportunities for them to see right away where the kids are lacking and where they need help. And it's a very helpful tool in comparison to Math Excel. Math Excel doesn't have that. Even though our kids are familiar with that because maybe their teachers have been using that once we had to go online, Alex is a little bit more robust and has a lot more opportunities.
Okay, so then the teacher would get kind of instant feedback to know whether their student is doing in what area.
Exactly, and it would tailor reviews individually for those kids.
That's interesting. That's really good.
Yeah, that was the main push. That was the main benefit of why our teachers wanted to go in that direction instead of stay where we're at.
Okay. It's, I just have to say that whenever we get a new curriculum, it's a struggle for teachers and it takes time. And I'm sure you're aware of this with all the difficulties teachers have had to do to realign lessons to go online and go in person. I mean, it's just been a lot of work. So how are you dealing with those situations right now?
I can chime in on that. I think what's awesome is now that we have a secondary math curriculum specialist, that's where I can focus a lot of my time and energy and plan all these resources and opportunities and trainings for them. That's why I have such a huge push and urgency to get these materials into teachers' hands as soon as possible because I want them to take the summer off. I don't want them to spend their whole summer planning to get ready in August. I want to spend as much of fourth quarter as they can to do that. And I know that's kind of asking to put more on their plate, but I've had teachers reach out and say, how soon can I start playing around with this? I'm excited for something new. I want to see what this is like. So I want to provide as much stuff as I can in fourth quarter and have some PD opportunities after school. And then we're just going to keep training. Even all next year in that first semester, we'll continue to have more stuff during half days, during their PLC time, where they're constantly working together in their groups to learn and work together on their pacing and understanding these new curriculum resources.
Okay, thank you very much. You've answered a lot of my questions. I don't want to put an extra burden on teachers in any way that we can help doing that. So going back to a question, why change the curriculum? What is the benefit in the new program over what we've had?
I'll take that one too. So, Mrs. Case, I would say education has changed tremendously in this past couple years with COVID. I just left the classroom to come to this position, so I can speak from the heart on that, on how hard it was to transition when we had to go online. And what was nice was to have some online resources to do that. With the older curriculum, they do have some things, but now that we have this updated curriculum, they have even more. And that's not to say that our teachers are only going to use online stuff now. I trust that our teachers are still going to use paper homework. They're still going to use that old school textbook, but now they're going to have options and resources to mix up their delivery. With all the absences that are happening right now with kids getting sick, I love that there's some online remediation tools that I can have my kiddos at home that aren't feeling well, they can still stay caught up. That there's some videos that have already been made that the teacher can give to those kids so they can focus on their in-person kids. It just opens the door to so many more opportunities right now that these new products provide because now they've been developed, because now there's a need.
Okay.
So that's why I'd say change is
And
good.
with Maxell XL, it was good in a lot of ways, but now it correlates with the textbook they have. So now we're having A and B aligned with each other.
Yes, and Math Excel has also advanced, so it's not going to be as supportive of our old textbook, if that makes sense. So if we were to keep the same old textbook, the Math Excel is advanced and different, so they're not going to correlate. if that
Oh.
makes sense. So they're not going to go together as well.
Interesting. Okay. So may I just say this, and I know this is kind of wacky, maybe. So with all of the things that we have done online this past year, hopefully we have learned a lot of things. So in my dream world, once we implement a new adoption, there would be a district digital library with video lessons for each topic being taught in each math subject/level, made by district teachers who would be paid for their efforts. And these would be quality videos that have to submit them or something. And I think that this would really help our students. So if they were absent, they could punch in a video for that segment or something. In my dream world, that's what I would have, is that we would have those made and prepared and have a storage and a way to retrieve those. I'm just saying, that's my dream world. And maybe it'll come to be, maybe it won't. But it sounds like with having the online program that you're having correlated with the books, that that's part of my dream world there, and that it's going to have something that kids can work on an area until they come up with resolution that they understand it. So thank you very much.
Of course.
That was the first reading. Thank you very much, and thank you very much to the committee. That is a ton of time. The committee's been going on for a year. That is a really long time. So thank you, committee. If you're listening, whatever, we give you our thanks. Thank you. Next on the agenda is consideration of revisions to Governing Board Policy A, District Mission and Belief Statement. Dr. Bells?
President Pro Tem Case, Governing Board members, Cabinet guests, this item culminates phase 1 of our work of a 3-phase process in developing a new district strategic plan. You may recall this work began last June in our very first board study session together, and we've provided updates to you both in study sessions for your input of October and December, as well as weekly updates. Dr. Jarris will present our recommendations for a new vision, mission, values, and motto as a first reading for Policy A. Dr. Jarris.
Thank you, President Pro Tem Case, Governing Board members, Dr. Bales, Cabinet, and members of our audience. I present to you tonight the first reading of revisions to Governing Board Policy A, which identifies our district's vision, mission, values, and motto. Tonight, I will be identifying our process for creating these revisions, and then I will share with you our actual recommendations. Again, this is a first reading of these revisions, so we'll be looking for any feedback or questions that you might have before bringing them for approval at a future meeting. The items presented tonight are the work of our design team, which was facilitated by Dr. Connie Kam of Kam Solutions. Dr. Kam has more than 20 years of experience working with schools and organizations on developing strategic plans, and she has done an amazing job of keeping us focused and working together to identify these words that will guide us. Our design team consists of our cabinet and members of each stakeholder group, which has been instrumental in providing a well-rounded lens on creating a direction for the district. The strategic plan is an important tool in helping us improve as a district. Throughout this process, we will obviously identify our strengths, but ultimately we will also be identifying opportunities for improving the educational experience that we provide to our students. In order to accomplish this, as Dr. Bales mentioned, our planning process includes 3 phases. The first was to develop a vision, mission, and value statements, and which I'll be presenting shortly. And our work in this phase began in October officially and concluded just a few weeks ago. Our second phase will then identify broad strategic goals and objectives that will guide our district's efforts over the next 5 years. And the third phase will involve operationalizing these goals by creating action plans at the school and district level to ensure that we are fulfilling our commitments to our students. Just to review, because these terms often mean different things to different people, I wanted to share what the operating definitions that we used. The vision statement paints a concise picture of what we aspire to achieve, and it should be our reference point for our decision-making practices. You might consider this to be that shining star in the sky that we keep moving towards. The mission statement states the purpose of our district, and it essentially defines what we do on a daily basis to help us fulfill our vision. And the values are those core principles and ethics of the district that shape how we operate. Before I present the recommendations, I would like to note that our process involved a community service to provide feedback on early drafts of our work. We received 1,945 unique responses, which were given to the committee and played a role in shaping the recommendations you will see tonight. We also factored in feedback from our student voice group, which includes students from each of our high schools. And I will note that if you add up those numbers from each stakeholder group, they do not add up to 1,945 because participants were able to select more than one category. A parent and who's also a teacher may have selected both categories. Our recommendation for a vision statement is every learner empowered for a lifetime of success. The design team felt that this concise statement reflects the value we have for reaching the potential in each student, regardless of their background, abilities, or interests. It also reflects our desire to provide students with the knowledge and skills to be successful throughout their lifetime. Our recommendation for our mission statement is we engage, inspire, and nurture students through high-quality instruction, meaningful educational opportunities, and dynamic learning experiences. This statement reflects the multifaceted nature of education, that the fact that teaching involves more than just providing instruction and opportunities to grow and learn. It includes moments of encouragement and support and building relationships to help support the uniqueness of each student. Our recommendations for value statements begin with identifying the following values as important to our future operations: student focus, innovation, collaboration, integrity, growth, and respect. Again, these values should shape the manner in which we operate and make decisions in supporting students. They can be further explained through value statements as presented on these following slides. By being student-focused, we approach each decision and interaction with every student's success and well-being as a priority. The meaning of this statement can be further defined by the action statements listed below, which I will not read each one of them, but I'll allow you a moment to look at them. Innovation means that we nurture creativity, curiosity, and strategic thinking and reasoning through dynamic learning experiences. And again, you can see the action statements that further define this. This value applies not only to innovative opportunities for our students, but how we approach problems and challenges as a district. Through collaboration, we cultivate respectful and meaningful relationships to support high expectations and a culture of growth. As you are familiar, this reflects a long-held value of engaging all of our stakeholder groups as this process in itself represents. Through integrity, we model character, equity, and ethical behavior in all we do. The design team recognized that part of our students' education is in the behavior that we model, and these specific action steps are important for being part of a strong community. By valuing growth, we foster continuous progress, development, and learning. And while we recognize, the design team recognizes the importance of student achievement, they also recognize that it is important to acknowledge that this can look different for each student, and that we should celebrate individual and organizational growth in our process of improvement. And finally, through respect, we model civility, dignity, and thoughtful consideration in our communication and actions. And this value is incredibly important in establishing the positive and meaningful relationships that we need to support our students. And in addition to our vision, mission, and value statements, we're also recommending that we continue with our motto of a journey of excellence to capture what we do and be used as a part of our marketing and branding tool. Our next steps in the process is creating a strategic plan for district improvement. Our next steps in creating a strategic plan will be to establish broad goals and objectives, which will take place between now and April. And then we will begin by operationalizing those goals with district and school level action steps to accomplish our vision. At this time, I'm open to any questions or feedback.
Mrs. Matura?
Thank you. I just wanted to say I was really happy to see all of the feedback that was requested and how many people took the time to take the community survey. We had a lot of representatives from a lot of different stakeholder groups. So I really appreciated that that was something that the team focused on, was bringing in feedback and bringing in the feedback from the students as well. I think that was an important part on fine tuning everything, and appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Mrs. Bacon?
I also just want to thank the committee. I know this has been a huge lift and a lot of time spent, a lot of time volunteered, a lot of time taken off from other duties and responsibilities. So I want to thank you for that. I would love to see this become part of everything that we do and talk about in terms of what our vision is. So at every board meeting, we should be talking about vision. At everything that we do, I don't want this to go away. I don't want to approve it and then set it somewhere and never talk about it again. So that's just one of the things that I've been thinking about in reviewing the materials, and I hope we can develop a plan to do that.
Thank you. Mrs. Greenberg?
Yeah, I won't say ditto, but I just did. I really do want to thank the committee as somebody who has facilitated this type of work before. I know how much everybody put into it. I also know how invigorating it can be. And so I appreciate that opportunity that a new strategic plan and all of a new vision statement, mission statement provide and bring with them. Like Mrs. Bacon, I do not want to see this put into a drawer. We need to walk the walk as well as talk the talk, and I know everybody's committed to that. So I think as many ways as we can tell the story that we are filling in with these, we should do that. And somewhere here, we need the vision statement. So I want to thank everybody for the work and where this is taking us.
Thank you. I too want to thank the committee who has spent hours and hours and hours on this and all the work that has gone into it. And I got to see a little bit, just a little bit of something happen when student voice got to have their opinion on the mission statement and the vision statement. And I have to say, we have some really smart students who are thoughtful and understanding of so many things. And I appreciate that their thoughts were incorporated into those things, because this is written for the benefit of the students. And that's what we are all about, what's best for kids in our district. And I so appreciate everyone thinking of what is best for the students. And are there any other comments? No? Thank you, Dr. Jarris
President-
and your committee.
President Pro Tem Case and Governing Board. We are excited to take the next step in the leap in this endeavor. And I did want to point out that we are continuing to revise as we go along. And there are two pieces to what we presented tonight. One of them is the word by. We've, as a committee, talked about whether the behavioral statement, should start with the word by or put the by before the colon and then have the action verb. So we're looking at doing that. If you have any feedback, we'd love to hear that from you. And then also under innovation, we actually have a strategic thinking / reasoning. And we're looking at leaving that at strategic thinking and or just thinking, because they are different. And so we've had quite a conversation about those words, but if you have any feedback on those two pieces, I know we have an editor up here that likes to give some feedback. So we'd love to hear some suggestions there for wordsmithing or editing.
Do you want them now, or would you like them in writing?
Yeah, if you want to go off the cuff now, that's fine. Mrs. Greenberg, if you want to send it to me, you
Can
may.
I throw a third one in?
Sure.
The values that we are stating are superlative, and I love that they're there. We are using different types of words, though. should it be student focused or student focus if our next one is innovation? Et cetera, et cetera. So I think if we can, and quite honestly, I've looked at these and it was not until tonight that I really looked at it and it hit me that way. So I think it's just a matter of, okay, if we've stepped back from it a little bit and then you look at it one more time. As far as the by is concerned, I think I said that before. I think it would be great to put the by with the statement and then zing with the verb.
Yes.
I just think it's more impactful and powerful to do that. So that's my that's my off the cuff on that one.
Thank you, Mrs. Greenberg.
Sure.
And thank you, Governing Board.
Thank you all. Before we adjourn, I'd like to remind you that the next regular board meeting will be held on Thursday, February 10th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Motion to adjourn. May I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned.